Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeVries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Dennis Tzeng.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. For some reason, Perri is giggling over here.
She's a giggler.
Yeah.
She's a giggler.
Rocha's wig was out of control.
Nope.
Yeah.
I just said hello. I just said hello.
That happened.
Anyways, it's Friday right before a long weekend. Just to let you guys know, we will not be having Movie Talk on Monday or Tuesday. It's a holiday here in America. However, we will have other videos that I will be talking about later on that will appear on our channel.
Also joining us is Perri Nemiroff.
Guys, be careful. If you try the Rocha wave, it can end in something spilling on your laptop.
Also here is John Rocha.
The man mentioned it's a holiday this week, and that's right. That's why I got my Captain America shirt on. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's celebrate America. Woo!
And Ken Knapsack.
I'm here to watch John Rocha undress. Keep going, Johnny. Keep going.
All right, what do we got up first?
After directing the worldwide smash that is Wonder Woman, fans immediately looked at Patty Jenkins and assumed that she would return for its sequel in Wonder Woman 2. Yet it's been about a month since the film's record-breaking debut, and we haven't heard official confirmation that Jenkins will be back. However, during a recent Wonder Woman screening at Women in Film, via a report from The Advocate, and in the Q&A that followed, Jenkins did confirm to the cheering crowd that she has some ideas about what the sequel will entail and how she feels about it. You have the greatest character of all time that you love dearly, with a cast that you love sitting at the palm of your hand at this day and age. You can do whatever you want with them. Are you crazy? And then I suddenly realized it's not more, it's another movie. It's its own movie, and it's gotta be great. It's a continuation of the same character, but there's a great, entirely different story to be told. Dennis, your thoughts on Patty Jenkins' comments, and do you think that she is coming back for Wonder Woman 2 based on this report?
Well, it's definitely not official confirmation, which means probably the deal is still being worked out. But we talked about this before in our pre-production meetings. You know, she's playing the game to get more money for herself, and she deserves it. And the thing about this is the movie itself is on pace right now in the same amount of days is beating Batman v Superman's domestic haul at the box office. And it's one of those situations where WB/DC, if they don't bring her back, people are going to be screaming bloody murder. And also, let's say, imagine, for some reason, they don't work out a deal. They do the sequel with a different director, and let's say that movie either A, is not as good or doesn't make as much money. Oh, my God. People are being screaming at Warner Brothers and DC, like, how could you let her go? So I think she's just slowly going to get there, but eventually I think she's going to re-sign on because that's what everybody wants. Perri?
Yeah, she flat out said on Twitter that it's not happening. She wrote, "Hey all, thanks for the excitement, but that wasn't a confirmation, just talking about ideas and hopes, but still excited and hopeful." Even though I liked her quotes, it seems like a good way to approach signing on for another big movie that's going to, you know, consume a large chunk of your life, because she had said, you know, originally she thought you don't have to do this, and then she's like, oh wow, I have this great opportunity, and the opportunity to add layers to this character and tell a new story about her. That seems like a really appropriate way to feel the need to sign on for something like this, but at the same time, I almost want her to stop talking about it, because the more she talks about it, the more Warner Brothers will realize, oh, this super talented director that we should be paying more money maybe, like, she's going to sign on no matter what we give her. So I want her to be able to use this opportunity she has to the fullest, because, I mean, that's the better position she's in compared to, I mean, I would like to think that someone like Gal Gadot has had these types of things worked out where she's going to be set no matter what, but she was set for multiple films, whereas Patty Jenkins was only set for one, so she's in the fortunate position now where it's all this pressure because people love the movie so much, so she can demand quite a bit. So I just hope that until people are able to sign on the dotted line, she kind of uses this time appropriately so she gets her best possible deal, because she deserves it.
Rocha?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's done such an incredible job with this film. It transcends the gender issues with the film in terms of, like, it's very, you know, it's about the first female superhero. All of that, she knocked that out of the park. But above that, she made a fantastic film overall that everyone can enjoy, multiple generations can enjoy. So why wouldn't you bring her back? And this is, like you said, Dennis, it's very smart of her to not be like, listen, I didn't sign anything, nothing's in print. But it's also smart for her to like get the fans riled up to think about the possibility of a sequel, what the story might be, what she can do with this character. And I love the imagery that I was just as I was falling asleep, I had this epiphany, you know, and we have all had those moments. So it's relatable in that way as well. And also it pushes this narrative that she really cares about this character and this universe that she has created, and that she should be the auteur to a degree of this universe going forward. And there's a saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and there's a lot of women who love this film, and the last thing you want to do is unsettle the audience and the base of this movie by bringing in another director. God forbid you bring in a male director, all these kinds of things. You want to kind of keep pace going forward, solidify it a little bit more, and then you can start taking chances. The fact that they're reshooting some of Justice League, the rumor is to make her more prevalent, Gal Gadot, I think it tells you the power of this film. Therefore, Sony has to respect what Patty Jenkins has brought and what she will do with a sequel. So this is smart negotiating by her on both sides, both against the executives and also with the fans, getting the fans behind her. It's just so smart all around.
Ken, were you a fan of the movie, and do you think Patty Jenkins is coming back?
I'm a fan of the movie for sure, and I absolutely think she's coming back, but there's some stuff in here I like and some great points by you guys, as always. Perri, I understand what you're saying about, hey, don't act so excited that Warner Brothers is like, we know you're coming back. But, John, you're right, that, you know, there's a fan base. Getting the fans excited behind it definitely makes a point. But I really, what I love about it is that Patty actually was like, you know what, wait, I don't necessarily have to do this. I have created this opportunity for myself after years of being on the sidelines and doing great TV work. By the way, the Arrested Development stuff, let's not forget, she directed that, one of the best, some stuff there, one of the best shows of all time. So I like that she was like, wait a minute, do I want to do this? Maybe I want to move on. Maybe I want to expand. And she has all the power. I keep saying she's earned this. Patty, if you're listening, here's what you do. You sit in the biggest high back chair you can find, leather, gothic, real vamp stuff. You get a big cigar. You just sit there with some brandy, and you bring all the Warner Brothers people, and you lay them down in front of you, and you just take your time. You puff on that cigar, and you say, I'll let you know when I'm coming back. I'll let you know. That's what you do. This is your world. You earned it. Go for it.
My thinking, though, is the opposite of Perry's. I think the more she talks about, the better, because she's going to start to own, like, the franchise, and people will get in the minds that, like, hey, okay, she's already thinking about the sequel. She has great plans. She did great on the first one. And so then in their minds, she's already directing the second one. And then if for some reason WB, like, pulls some crazy stuff and, like, pulls out and then it's somebody else, the fans were going to get really upset. And I do think she was a driving force behind the movie and why it was so good. I think she was able to pull out a performance from Gal Gadot that maybe some other directors couldn't have done. So I think they really don't want to take their chances there.
It's just playing the game appropriately.
Yeah.
If she runs around saying, I'm so excited, I hope this happens, that's bad. But if she's dropping little things here and there to get people excited, I think that's good. This story was a little different, I think, just because so many outlets ran with the headline that, you know, this is it. She's back. I don't necessarily know if that was the best approach, but then again, that's not really her fault. So, I don't know. I think it's going to work in her favor no matter what.
Okay. All right, what's next?
THR is reporting that Alice Braga, known for her role in USA's Queen of the South, has stepped in to replace Rosario Dawson in Josh Boone's upcoming X-Men spinoff, New Mutants. The reason for Dawson's exit is unclear at this time. Braga joins The Witch and Split star Anya Taylor-Joy, Game of Thrones' Maisie Williams, and Stranger Things star Charlie Heaton in the project that is being described as an X-Men movie with a horror thriller angle. The movie is set for release on April 13th, 2018. Perri, your thoughts on Alice Braga replacing Rosario Dawson in New Mutants?
I don't know if she actually replaced her, because I think where it started with Rosario Dawson is that there were rumors that she was going to be a part of it, and then the director had said that talks were underway, but that in no way means it's a confirmation. So, you know, for all we know, talks broke down, and then Alice Braga's talks went through. So I don't really think it's a matter of being replaced, but if you presented the two actresses to me, I mean, I don't really have anything against Alice Braga, but there's no doubt in my mind that I would pick Rosario Dawson just because I think she has a stronger presence in most of her films. There's a lot of films on her resume where, when I think about them, I can remember very specific moments where she captured my attention, whereas Alice Braga's been fine in a lot of things, but Like when I think about, Elysium and Predators and things like that, she is fine, but there's nothing about her performance in those movies that makes me think, wow, like she is going to command the screen and she is a star. I mean, I think about City of God, and that's kind of her big credit, and I love that movie, but I can't really say I've been very wowed by her, but who knows how big this role is in the movie. I'm a little more excited about people like Maisie Williams and Anya Taylor-Joy and Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things. So, she'll hopefully suit the ensemble well.
Rocha.
I think there's a lot to say here because of this whole idea with why Rosario Dawson either didn't take it or was not cast, right? To me, this speaks to a number of possibilities. And what we do on this show sometimes is speculate. It's certainly possible that the role was written down a little bit, so she wasn't interested in doing it anymore. It's also possible that there's issues with her doing all these multiple Marvel TV series as the night nurse. And there's also possibilities that they felt that they're going a little smaller with the film and wanted someone who's got experience working on this scale to a degree. And Alice Braga certainly has that with, as Perri mentioned, Predators. I also would throw in I Am Legend. I thought she was great in I Am Legend, and of course City of God. But she has an Elysium, but she has a experience with the horror thriller genre. So maybe it's more in the wheelhouse of what they're looking for. Nothing against Rosario. Obviously in Sin City and a number of other films, she's played these kind of darker, harder characters. But I think maybe they're going a little smaller with this film, and so they don't want to make large casting decisions. And I think this is smart. Like Alice Braga is great. She facilitates the situation. Like you say, she doesn't stand out. She facilitates. She's a great role player, right? She's a good actress. Queen of the South is actually an interesting show to watch on USA. And I don't watch a lot of USA shows. I really like her in this one, and she's Portuguese. She comes from a long lineage of actors and producers in her family, so it's in her blood. So for me, this makes sense as a role player. I think with Rosario, they might have made a bigger film, and so I think this speaks to a smaller, more quiet film that they're going for, in my opinion.
So you're not watching Franklin Bash,
Suits, Doctors, whatever.
Burning Notice or
Burn Notice
or whatever.
Complications.
I try all these shows, and I just don't find an interest in them. And I love Bruce Campbell.
But John, it's USA and there's characters welcome, and I think
Not my
you should
character.
try.
Okay.
Ken, what do you think about this?
The talks conversation Perri brings up is always interesting. It's sometimes it's confusing. What does in talks means? It's like if Rocha goes on a date Friday night and a different girl on Saturday night, John's in talks.
Yes.
And one of them might not get cast in this movie of John's life. But I think, John, you have some great points about what Alice Braga brings in terms of a professional working actress with a long resume that's just going to work maybe with what they're trying to do. I actually love Rosario Dawson. She brings a lot to the screen, chemistry-wise. But you're right, she's busy doing superhero stuff, and maybe this wasn't the role for her. City of God, all that kind of stuff. I'm looking at this resume here. It's good. It's just filling in with this Maisie Williams and Charlie Heaton. It's all these kind of young and up and coming people. You wouldn't you cast a veteran player that might overshadow some things.
Yeah, I like Alice Braga. I mean, City of God, obviously she stood out there. I don't watch Queen of the South and Elysium. That was. I felt lukewarm about just the movie in general. But Rosario Dawson, if we're playing a speculation game, who knows? Maybe Marvel threw some money her way and said, hey, maybe it's better for you to just stay over here. Just for the confusion fact. If her character is going to be kind of like the Nick Fury of the Marvel Netflix universe, then they don't want to confuse the fans. Because imagine if at the time when Samuel Jackson was doing the whole Nick Fury thing that he appeared in one of the Fox Marvel things as a different character. It would, I think, confuse the audience. I don't know if that's in any way, shape, or form real. I'm just speculating there.
That was my thought when I first heard her names in talks. I'm like, this will confuse people. Like, what character is she playing? Why would you cast only her? Like, I'm sure there are other actresses, and Alice proves the point. There are other actresses that could have played this part. And I think they don't, like what Ken said. I think he's right. I think they don't want to cast someone who's going to overshadow the young up and coming actors who are really going to be the stars of the film.
All right, guys. Now we're on to Buy or Sell. Sinead, what do we got first?
Marvel Studios has introduced us to a long list of characters over the years since 2008's Iron Man debuted in theaters. But there are still a lot of characters left in the comics that Marvel could incorporate into the MCU, and among them is Captain Britain. In an interview with Hey You Guys during the press event for Spider-Man Homecoming, Kevin Feige was specifically asked if we could see Captain Britain appear in the MCU sometime. And surprisingly, Feige confirmed that there have been discussions saying We have discussed it. There are a lot of actors that come in and ask about that part, so we'll have to see. Rocha, do you buy or sell Captain Britain appearing in the MCU sooner or later?
Oh, yeah, I buy this idea as an idea. Absolutely. I would love this. I've been a massive fan of Captain Britain since Excalibur. I collected all of Excalibur and all the different iterations, and I love the story of Brian Braddock. For those of you who don't know, he is the fraternal twin of Betsy Braddock, who's Psylocke. So there's a lot of connections with the X-Men and mutants with him, and he supposedly got his powers from Merlin. So there's a lot that kind of has connections to old school Britain, to Excalibur, to King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table. So there's a lot about him. And Alan Moore wrote him for a while. For those of you who know, The Watchmen, V for Vendetta. He's got great credit, A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So it was a character that drew Alan Moore's interest. So that to me speaks volumes as well. And I also loved the Excalibur teaming up. You had Nightcrawler, you had Kitty Pryde, you had Phoenix, you had Lockheed. So Phoenix is supposedly the basis of the next X-Men movie. So this could be something they offshoot as the MCU grows and grows. I mean, as this idea grows and grows, it's certainly possible to have crossover possibilities. We see that with Spider-Man now, with Marvel and Sony crossing over. So why can't this happen again? So I think this is a great idea. I love it. And I think it also says, like, look, not all heroes have to be American or land in America. Sometimes there are heroes from other nations, other places. You know, Nightcrawler, I think, is German, so there's certainly openings to have other heroes from other countries and explore what it's like to be a hero in that country. So I think it opens up a lot of good doors.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it as well. Like you, I read Excalibur when it first came out. The only problem is it was kind of the British X-Men.
Yes.
But you're talking about Nightcrawler, you're talking about Kitty Pryde. Those characters the MCU does not have licenses to,
right.
So they cannot do Excalibur. And then you also have Phoenix. In this iteration, she's like a future version of Jean Grey's daughter,
right.
Rachel Summers. And so there's another character they probably don't own either. So if they do bring Captain Britain over, it's going to be kind of just him, and then they can't do kind of the whole Excalibur thing. Ken?
You know what, John? You're good. You're good. Because I was going to sell this. I'm fully aware that Captain Britain is a character that's existed since the 70s. It's not some new book. But when you hear they're going to add Captain Britain to this, it's like, okay, wait a minute. You get the non-union equivalent of Captain America. What are we doing here? But to hear the backstory that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
All right, now you got some meat to this character. You put a Charlie Hunnam in that suit. You bring him in fully, and you don't need to have his own Captain Britain spin-off movie, but it could factor in some kind of way with that kind of backstory. I might buy it now, John. You're convincing.
Perri, would you like to see Captain Britain in the MCU?
If I'm playing buy or sell, I'm going to sell it, but not because I don't want to see Captain Britain, because it's an interesting backstory, and I think there is big screen potential for a character like this. However, given how Feige responded to that question, because he basically just said, like, we have discussed it. There are actors who have come in and asked about it. I'm sure there's actors who have asked about every superhero and villain character imaginable. So this, to me, sounds like a response where someone just brought up a random name and he gave a very diplomatic reaction. So I don't think it's going to happen, and that's why I'm going to sell it. I also think that, I mean, given how this conversation has progressed right now, I think there might be too much confusion. Too much confusion, one, for fans of the comics who know his origin and who associate him with characters who don't fall under the MCU brand right now, and then also some confusion just with the MCU as it stands now. I mean, we constantly talk about how many characters are going to come up in Infinity War. Are we really going to start talking about adding even more? And I know that the rumor is some of them are going to die, but I don't think the way to move on to the next phase, whether they call it phase 4 or something else, is to start filling those holes with other characters and just continuing to have this massive universe with so many characters you have to focus on. We're getting a whole bunch of new MCU characters coming to the forefront right now. So I don't have the mental capacity right now to think about how or why Captain Britain should fit in. But, you know, depending on how Infinity War progresses, that might change. But at this point in time, I don't think we need him right now.
All right, now for the buy or sell we've all been waiting for. Sinead, what's next?
Well, The first super crazy trailer for My Little Pony, the movie, has finally hit online. Based on the current My Little Pony series, the movie will center on the main six: Twilight Sparkle, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy, with the series voice cast reprising their roles for the film. The movie sees the main six go off in search of allies when Tempest Shadow and her stormy forces arrive to take over Equestria. My Little Pony, the movie, is due in theaters October 6th and stars newcomers Emily Blunt, Kristen Chenoweth, Liev Schreiber, Michael Pena, Sia, Taye Diggs, Uzo Aduba, and Zoe Saldana. Ken, buy or sell the first trailer for My Little Pony, the movie.
Look, I was a child of the '80s. My sister had My Little Ponies. I get it. I get the appeal. But I used to take my GI Joes, actually my Cobras, the Dreadnoks. You remember them? And I'd have them kill those ponies and eat them. So I
eat the ponies?
Yeah, you need to survive out there when you're battling GI Joe. That's right. I played with Cobra. But I'm also not an idiot. I know there's an entire business behind the new generation of My Little Ponies. I'm not a brony. I'm not going to make a brony joke. You identify as you wish. So I'll sell this personally, but professionally, I'm going to buy this because this will probably make a lot of money. It'll also play a lot of late night showings where we should probably question the people in the back row. But I get it. It's a big business. Have fun with that.
Perry?
I was wondering if you're going to toss to Rocha next. I was bracing myself. I'm actually going to surprise you and buy it.
Yay!
And I'm not sure if it's partly because my expectations were like rock bottom. I expected to start this trailer and go like this again because that's what I remember from the teaser. It's just you're sitting there and all of a sudden this screeching voice. I don't understand how someone can listen to that for 90 minutes or 2 hours. This one, on the other hand, though, I can't say it speaks to what I want to see in an animated movie, but I can start to see the appeal a little bit. I kind of did like the bright colors, and especially when you introduce the villain characters and they look so drastically different. I think there was a lot of fun back and forth with that. And there are actually a couple little jokes in there that I think are jokes that could play towards kids and adults. You know, I get it. I get it. This trailer doesn't make me want to run out opening weekend and see it myself, but it is starting to entice me to walk over on the other side and understand a little bit more about why people appreciate this franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to have to sell it. Is it less annoying than the first teaser? Yes, you don't have that one pony screeching the whole time. However, she's still in the trailer. Yeah, it's just not for me. It's not for my demographic. It's not one of those animated films that can cross over to both adults and children. If there are, young girls that really like this, good for them. If there's young, older men that like this, good for them. Not for me. Rocha?
Okay. So I buy it because I've been kind of living with this film for 3 or 4 years because my friend Michael...
You wrote it. And
I did. I wrote it. No. So my friend Michael Vogel is the co-executive producer, co-writer, and co-lyricist on the film. So I've had access to conversations with him through this whole process, through the casting process, through animation, stuff like that. He showed me stuff. And I've been in the room with him when he's writing lyrics to these songs. So it's something that I personally would never gravitate to. But seeing what they did, the reason this series has survived as powerfully as it has is because it does exactly what Dennis thinks it doesn't do. It does a right mix of the kid stuff with adult stuff. If you look in the trailer, if you got your eagle eye on, you'll see the two bodyguards with Sia are reminiscent of Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. They make these kinds of real world references in this show, which is why adult men like it as well as children. And Lauren Faust, and this is something that Michael Vogel said to me, Lauren Faust said that she created the series because she wanted to make a girls show that boys would watch and create a world that showed there were lots of ways to be a girl, not just one way. So this is why so many people have gravitated to this series. And they brought back all the creative team from the TV show. So they didn't just create this and then hand it over to a bunch of feature people and say, hey, make a movie. You don't understand the show that well, but make a movie. So I think that speaks volumes. And also Rita Hassau, I hope I'm saying that right, she co-wrote the movie with them and worked at Pixar and wrote Mulan. So there's a lot to be supportive about this film, in my opinion, and I like it. And I think the trailer absolutely destroyed that teaser trailer, that abomination that came out a couple of months ago. This is a more fleshed out world. I think think they're pushing the boundaries of the My Little Pony world, and I think it'll be empowering in the long run, because sometimes you can get too comfortable. You need a villain to come into your life, shock you out of it, out of your comfort zones, and see how strong you really are, and how if you can fight back or not. And I think you see that in the trailer in this film.
Is it going to be a shared universe with the Transformers?
God,
Are we going to see some crossovers?
I want a shared universe with G.I. Joe like Ken.
I wish I could tell you the behind-the-scenes stories that Michael has told me at times about this idea of a shared universe of all the properties.
Okay.
And so I wish I could.
I mean, on a side note, I actually was like, Ken, I took my sister's My Little Ponies and her strawberry shortcakes.
Oh, yeah.
And they were
Little D.
Well, they were the prisoners that the Cobra and Decepticons had.
Yeah.
And then the G.I. Joe and the Autobots had to come save them.
The Dennis Zen shared universe.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
interesting.
I had them all. All right, well, Wendy, what did you think about this trailer?
I am going to hesitantly buy it. Look, I think it's very cute. I think the franchise, it's not so much for me, but I know tons of people, adults and kids alike, really like it. So when I watched it, I was like, all right, like, you know, I was entertained. I didn't cringe or anything like that. But it's certainly not for me, but for intent purposes, I buy it.
Well, they'll put that on the poster. I didn't cringe or anything on that. Sinead?
I mean, based on the trailer alone, I would buy it. But that's also me viewing the trailer like this is a children's franchise. And I have nothing against any grown men who collect My Little Ponies and are bronies and whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think still primarily this franchise wasn't made for bronies. They were made it was made for children. And that's what you see in everything that comes out My Little Pony, right? So viewing it that way, then yeah, I buy it. But I mean, zero interest in seeing this movie. If it happens to be on TV, I probably still wouldn't watch it. But that's just me personally. It's just like when I watch it, I don't feel any sort of connection. I never grew up with My Little Pony. It wasn't part of my life. It wasn't part of my toys. So I don't know. It's all right. It's all right.
All right, what's next?
Netflix has released a new full-length Death Note trailer for the highly anticipated adaptation. Based on the Japanese manga of the same name, the film follows a high school student, played by Nat Wolff, who finds a supernatural notebook that has the power to kill those whose names he writes into it. The film is directed by future Godzilla vs. King Kong director Adam Wingard, with the release date set for Netflix on August 25th. Rocha, do you buy or sell the new trailer for Death Note?
Okay, so let me speak from a place of not having read the manga, not having watched the anime. The trailer itself, I actually liked because I don't have anything to compare it to. I know that there are other people who have seen it. I don't want to name drop, but there are other people who've seen the anime who are quite angry at this trailer. But for me personally, I like the trailer. Walking into, I like the Willem Dafoe voice. Mm-hmm. There's nothing he does better than voice over evil characters. He's so good at that. I watched Spider-Man the other night again because I liked the way he did Green Goblin. So to me, there's a lot going for it. Also, Adam Wingard being a part of this. I was such a fan of The Guest and You're Next. Those are two interesting films that I've thoroughly enjoyed. So I like the way they're going. My only issue with the trailer, and I buy it, but my only issue with the trailer is I felt it was a bit too loud, too boo, 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 boo. And I think I want to see more of a psychological thing, more of a quieter film. And this felt more like trying to get everyone's attention to jump on top and be a part of it. And like the whole scene where they're jumping off the building is really cool. This whole idea that the guy in the mask talking, and then all of a sudden he's perched on the chair in some weird way talking. So there's some interesting things they're playing with, but I think I want to see another trailer that gets a little more into the story and a little more quieter trailer for me to understand what the vibe of this film is really going to be.
Perri?
I buy it big time. I don't need any quiet. I was completely swept up in all this. And again, it is important to know, because I know a lot of people are very sensitive if they are passionate about the source material, that I have absolutely no connection to the source material. So I watched this trailer as someone who knows very, very little about what went on in that, because all I've done is very surface level research. And you know, I respect the fact that if people are really passionate for something like this, that they're going to get upset when things are changed, and especially when we are in an industry right now where whitewashing is an issue over and over. True. And you know, it almost like sets things off on a bad note right from the start when someone has a property that they love and they know if Hollywood snatches it up, this is going to happen. But then again, I mean, it is what it is to a point, and based on the quotes that I've been reading from Wingard, it does seem like he has approached it in an appropriate way, because whether we're talking about resetting something from one country to another or adapting something from a book to a film, you're going to have those same types of issues. And really, it's two different mediums, it's two different countries, and it sounds like he's going about it the right way in that they set it in another country.
Right.
He went back and he read all the manga and he's thinking about it, and as he's developing the project, he sees things that can't work. So he is adapting it for this new setting that he has. That kind of mentality makes sense to me, but again, I am not connected to the material. However, just for this trailer, I thought this was incredible. There is so much imagery that is just like seared in my brain right now. I'm a big fan of Nat Wolff. I really think that he is going to break out in a good way, in an even stronger way than he already has, because he already is a very familiar name. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple times. Like a super smart, kind, bright kid. So I've always been rooting for him. I'm obviously a big fan of Adam Wingard, and I think he can do so many different things than what made him famous to begin with, which is horror. I mean, if you watch The Guest, this guy can span genres, and I'm really excited to see him dip his toes into something a little more supernatural here. And Willem Dafoe, and the way his character looks and the way he's shot, because something like that could easily come across as silly and like puppet-like looking, but I think they just framed it up so perfectly where his voice paired with some eerie lighting. Oh, I can't wait to see what this turns out to be.
Yeah, I was reading Adam Wingard's. I'm not connected to the manga or the anime at all, so I don't know the source material. So I don't know what exactly is being changed. I do know it's a different location and the different ethnicities of the main characters. I guess he compared it to Infernal Affairs and The Departed, where it's not a straight adaptation, where there's kind of like an interpretation part of it. But I'm actually going to sell it just purely based on the trailer. Just it didn't really grab me. I thought the what are those sea urchin looking enemy bad guys? It just didn't really hook me at all. Ken?
Until John mentioned it, I thought that just was Willem Dafoe. I didn't know it was his voice. Good stuff. Yeah, we're all coming from this point of view of, hey, we're not familiar with the source property, which is interesting perspective sometimes, because I watched this trailer. I was like, okay, good job, Netflix. They got something going here. We got Wingard's moving on to Godzilla King Kong. Yeah. This looks interesting. When you hear, again, I'm not familiar with the source material, and then you hear like, oh, you write a name in a book. It's like Jack and Agar wrote a book for Arya Stark. Yeah. And oh, okay, I've heard that kind of thing before, but then this creature pops up. I'm like, this is something different I haven't seen. So it's easy for me to say, it looks great. But, Robotech movie finally comes out. I will be on this table with a pitchfork burning the place down if they don't do it exactly how I want it to be. So I understand how fandoms can sometimes be upset. And also, to your point, Perri, about, certain issues and with casting or changing it, I like that Wingard's out in front of it or trying to be out in front of it, saying, hey, look, Departed to Infernal Affairs, this is what we're kind of got going on. So, but it's something to be concerned about, and I can understand if that's getting some people. But in terms of just a trailer, and sitting there over my cup of coffee that I almost spilled on Rocha's computer, I liked it. I'll buy it.
Oh, Wendy, you watched the anime. I had two questions for you. One, did you like the trailer? And two, I don't know the source material, but would this lend itself better to a series, or does it really fit more for a movie?
I believe that it honestly would sell better as a series. Because I think if you're trying to put the entire storyline and the intellectual battle between Light and L, you have to do it in a serious way. You're trying to push too much into that 2-hour frame, and it's going to become really convoluted, and it's just going to seem rushed, and you're going to lose these two characters. They're really, really smart. It's not a physical thing when they're battling each other, and it's the mind game that they play with each other. It's the struggles that they have, and what Light feels is like what he's doing is right, and how he justify it. So I am worried that in a movie, everything's going to be super rushed, and while I buy the trailer, and my favorite thing about it was Ryuk, and I think they're going to do him so right, and a lot of the scenes that he was in looked like it was directly pulled out of the anime. My worry is Light. I feel like they didn't quite get his character. He's a smart, really, really smart guy, and they seems like they're making him a little more physical. And I'm kind of on the fence about him, but I do like L a lot. I like kind of how he's perched up on the chair like he does in the anime, and they covered his face, so it was just his eyes showing. I was really into that.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the last buy or sell.
The first trailer for the upcoming 7th movie in the Child's Play series, Cult of Chucky, has landed online, bringing it with some franchise favorites along the way. With Cult of Chucky, everybody's foul-mouthed killer doll continues his murderous rampage behind the doors of an insane asylum, where Chucky goes up against his original Child's Play foe, Andy Barclay, played by Alex Vincent. Also returning are Jennifer Tilly as Chucky's twisted bride, Tiffany, Fiona Dourif as Nika, and of course, Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky. Written and directed by Don Mancini, Cult of Chucky will arrive on Blu-ray and DVD on October 3rd. Oops, sorry.
I wonder who you're going to toss it to.
That's all. Perri, buy or sell the first trailer for Cult of Chucky.
I am going to give it a very, very light buy. You guys know I love my genre, but this is not my favorite series. I really like the first Chucky movie, and after that, or maybe even further down the line, it started to get a little too silly for me, and I just started to lose interest. So even though some folks might be really excited to see certain characters come together in this new movie, it didn't really hit me the way I would like it to. However, what does pique my interest is there are things in this trailer that I think suggest that they are going to focus on like the kills and the blood and guts, and it might be a little darker. And I like the setting of the asylum, that everyone's trapped in there, and the idea of Chucky picking them off one by one. So I kind of want to watch it, and I will watch it when it comes out. But you know, I wanted to see something in this trailer that made me think like I'm excited, like I want to go back and watch all the Chucky movies to prepare for this. Maybe that was just a tall order, but it piqued my interest enough to, you know, put it on my queue whenever it comes out.
Yeah, I saw the original Child's Play a long time ago. I'm just not really into this franchise, so I'm going to sell the trailer because it just doesn't pull me in and make me want to watch it anymore. And, you know, everyone knows I'm not a huge fan of the horror genre. But the ones that I do like are things like Get Out, The Witch, and stuff like that. And this is definitely on the other spectrum of that. Ken, are you buying or selling this trailer?
I'll buy it from the concept of, you know, we're looking back to our past and bringing franchises forward or continuing them, and why not? Why not have Chucky go forward in a new generation, Perri? It's the cult of Chucky, and Chucky's been around for a long time, right? You don't want to buy that? You don't want to buy that? You're soft.
I wanted to light buy it.
You want to light buy it.
You let's have Chucky invade the My Little Pony franchise, and then I will buy that.
I'll get a buy. Yeah, everyone knows I get scared easily, so I won't be watching anything with a killer doll. But I think from a business perspective, this makes sense, and the trailer was entertaining enough that let's do it. Let's scare a new generation.
Rocha?
I marvel at Makuga and Ken, two of the toughest men I know, fearing horror films. I don't understand. It's not even real.
You're not there to hold me, John.
That's true. Hold you both. No, so here's I sell it, and then I know Mancini's coming back. He did the last. I think he did the last two, Seed of Chucky and Bride of Chucky, or something like that. So he did the last two. So he knows the universe. So that's a positive. But this screams to me low budget. They're like in one room, one building. They're going to shoot it all in one building. Maybe an outside shot of Jennifer Tilly driving up in front of the building. So to me, it doesn't. It's not as inventive as I would have liked it to be for a new installment after all this time. I would have liked to have seen something a bit more fun. If Brad Dourif had been the psychiatrist, that would have been an awesome meta thing to do. The way they have Jennifer Tilly outside and voice his wife in the series. So to me, I like that they're bringing back the original kid. That's kind of cool. But it seems to me like this is Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the one where they're all like in the group home trying to avoid Freddy or whatever it is that they're all together. Dream Warriors, I think is what it's called. And so this feels like I've seen it before, and it feels a little low budget. And I would have liked to have seen something a bit more inventive, a bit more interesting to make me get in the theater and go see it. Because I've actually started to enjoy these horror films more and more, thanks to Perri and Clark and Schnepp and Riley. So I give them a little more time to go and especially with Blumhouse. So I would have liked to have seen something just a bit more inventive to get me in the theater.
All right, guys, before we move on to mailbag, I want to remind you that we're going to take your live Twitter questions at the end of the show. You can tweet. So there's a few things I want to talk about that we had. Last week we had a Transformers giveaway. It was that Google Play Pixel one. I think we're going to announce a winner sometime next week. But we also have another contest going on for Baby Driver. There's a gift pack that includes a framed movie poster signed by director, writer Edgar Wright and cast, as well as sunglasses, an official movie hat, an official soundtrack. You can go to Collider.com's post, which is linked in the show notes below. All you have to do is log in with your Facebook account or email address. Also want to let you guys know that we have a new show on Collider Video called Comic Book Shopping. Last week, we debuted the premiere episode, which had Evan Goldberg, the co-director, co-producer of Preacher on AMC. I directed that episode, and that's already up right now. But we also have a new episode coming out next Wednesday with Linkin Park, and here's a little preview.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm John Schnepp. I am at Torpedo Comics here in Las Vegas. I'm with Joe Hahn from Linkin Park. He's also a comic book sweaty.
Did you just call me a sweaty?
Let's talk about some comic books. We're in one of the greatest comic book stores I've ever been in. I want to buy everything. What is your big comic that got you into comic books?
I remember being a kid and seeing The Incredible Hulk.
Is this it? So Linkin Park, you guys have a brand new album.
One More Light is representative of who we are at the moment.
The process of making the album was incredible. If you're making something that's honest, people could connect to it, and I think that's our responsibility.
Everything here is museum quality.
These are just priceless comics.
So here we have something that is unique. You have the first appearance of Spider-Man, and it's signed by Stan Lee. That's $125,000.
Joe, let's pick out some comics that you want.
That's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
All right,
let's do it.
So there you have it. The Linkin Park episode of Comic Book Shopping airs next Wednesday. You can check out the first episode with Evan Goldberg right now. And I'll remind you that we also had a new Jedi Council that came out yesterday. We also have a Spider-Man Homecoming non-spoiler review that it was you, Rocha, and Alice did. It's on the channel right now. Also want to let you guys know, while my brother-in-arms over here, or actually both of my brothers-in-arms over here, Rocha and Ken, we are doing our Game of Thrones review show this year, which is going to, the premiere episode debuts actually this Monday, 2 weeks before the actual show starts. That's going to come out on Monday, and then the following Monday we'll have another one as well. Also, we have a new Schmodown that drops today between Clark Wolf and Mark Ellis, and we have a little preview of that right now.
I know that he has, I'll let him speak on this, but I know he's got reservations about competing in singles.
Well, yeah, I don't have any reservations about playing. I'm not ducking anybody.
Right.
I want to let other people get a shot at glory. At all the glory that Baby Carrots has, other people should get to enjoy that, Emma. So I might pop in here or there occasionally down the road, kind of like Eddie Murphy when he shows up at a comedy club. He's usually not there to do stand-up, but it's still cool to see a legend.
I want to be a contender in this league. I want to go all the way.
So the battle between Clark Wolf and Mark Ellis, that comes out today. Check that out. That's actually a matchup that we've all been kind of wanting to see, two of the higher-ranked opponents. All right, guys. Now we're moving on to mailbag. I'll remind you, you can email us at collidervideo@gmail.com. We'll take your questions on Movie Talk and also on our weekend shows mailbag. Sinead, what do we got?
Adam writes, "Hi guys, with Michael Bay allegedly wrapping his duties on the Transformers franchise, I can't help but think how his style would greatly complement a future Fast and Furious installment. They seem like natural bedfellows, yet no one seems to be making it happen. Another personal dream director-franchise collab would be a Christopher Nolan-helmed Bond movie. So my question to you is this: which big-name director would you like to see take a shot at a pre-existing blockbuster franchise where you know their style would be a great combination with the material? Thanks for the consistently awesome content, guys."
Perri, what kind of director would you hook up with what franchise?
I actually was thinking about how cool it is that a lot of directors I would pair with certain franchises are already part of those franchises, like Jurassic World and J.A. Bayona. I think that's really cool. Travis Knight doing the Bumblebee movie. That's something that I'm really excited about. I still would like to think that Ava DuVernay would do a really great job on a Star Wars movie, but even more so than that, I want a Guillermo del Toro Star Wars movie.
Yes.
I really do think that if you give him the right character, he is someone that could excel in that sphere. And, just to throw something out that isn't Star Wars, because that is immediately where my mind went with this question. Given how good Baby Driver is, I don't want this to happen because I want Edgar Wright to continue to make original movies that he feels passionate about. But could you imagine an Edgar Wright directed Fast and Furious movie? He captures that action so well, and I think that's something that was lost in the Fast 8 movie, where even though I was having a lot of fun with some of the chase sequences, you start to not be able to understand like who is where and who's driving towards what. And they do such a good job of, capturing when he notices something and turns the car, or when he has to shift, or those kinds of tiny details that enhance the suspense like you might not think. So I don't know. It's never going to happen, nor do I really want it to happen, but it could be an interesting pairing.
Rocha?
I have two. I think Catherine Bigelow would be awesome to tackle the next Bourne film. I think the last Bourne film didn't quite get there, and it's the return of Matt Damon, and he deserved a better movie. I rewatched it again the other night. It just doesn't quite get there. It's watchable, so I think Bigelow would bring the right gravitas to that film and have the right the grittiness that you want to see, and of course Greengrass style. Bigelow has done that style in Zero Dark 30 and her other films, and we see it in Detroit. It looks like it's going to have the same kind of vibe, so I would like to have a little more in your face, closer kind of shots, and Bigelow is really good at doing that. And I would say, and this is crazy, but I would love this, Taika Waititi, judging just from what I've seen in the trailers for Thor, and also I love What We Do in the Shadows, I would love to see him tackle a Transformers movie. I think he'd have the right comical sensibilities and also respect the material he's doing, because it looks like he's doing that with Thor as well from the trailers. I think he'd do a great job directing a Transformers film.
You know what
it would bridge
do?
the divide between people who hate it and don't think it quite gets there versus the people who love it already.
He should do Transformers in the style of What We Do in the Shadows, and it should be just like Transformers living in a house and trying to live their everyday life when they're not fighting this epic battle.
Well, it has to be a massive house, Perry. It'd have to be a massive house.
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
They can have a big house.
Fair.
Hear me out. Paul Thomas Anderson, one of the great storytellers of our time, rebooting the Indiana Jones franchise. The young Indiana Jones. Imagine a Daniel Plainview-like villain. He's going to drink young Indy's milkshake. When you say that out loud, it sounds more sexual than I thought about in my head. But imagine Daniel Day-Lewis. One more movie, Daniel. One more movie. You're the villain in a new Indiana Jones franchise. And if you're not down with the reboot, go old Indy, go put Indy in the 1950s, maybe even in the 1960s, or 1980s, depending on Harrison's age when we finally make this movie. But have Paul Thomas Anderson bringing his storytelling and his shots. He's his own cinematographer now. He could just, these beautiful, epic Indiana Jones shots. I'm on board. Do I get the point?
From what I understand, you named the dog Indiana.
Exactly.
For me, it's look. I'm very much looking towards the Matt Reeves Batman movie.
Yeah.
I just saw War for the Planet of the Apes last night. Thought it was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to that. But one of the original, before even Christopher Nolan, originally they were going to have Darren Aronofsky direct a Batman movie, and you're talking about someone who really knows darkness, the psyche of someone who has obsession that drives people, about fear and guilt and all those things that go into what Batman is. I think that would be, it'd probably have to be R-rated, but I'd love to see that. All right, guys, now we're moving on to live Twitter questions. What do we got first, Wendy?
This one comes from Robert Reynolds, who writes, with the new Apes trilogy, does it change your thoughts on how the apes treated the humans in the original?
How so? Like, were the apes... I don't know. I always cheer for the apes in all these movies, so... yeah, I mean, like, why would you cheer for the humans? They created them, they abused them, they treated them badly, and so
Are you on, sir?
Well, we all come from apes, so I feel like I'm on the right team.
Yeah, I'm Team Ape.
Yeah.
And also, I think I've separated this trilogy from any movie that has existed before it so much that I've never really looked at this one, and it's never changed my view of the characters from the past. But, I mean, I'm Team Ape all the way, too. Ken, you're crazy.
What's wrong with you guys? Guess you can tell me you root for the Rebel Alliance. Bunch of rebel rousers. around here.
Listen here, Cobra player.
Yeah, I played with
wanna hear
Cobra.
it. Yeah,
I brought in posters to hang today. Baroness and Cobra Commander. 100% played with Cobra. When I watched that first Apes movie with James Franco, which I went in going, come on, and came out going, wow. You know what? I didn't go back to Charlton Heston. I went back to Burton's and was like, we're done with that. So I just put that all out of my mind.
Yeah, I'm going to be on Team Ape as well.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Team Ape for everyone. All right, this one comes from Bazinga Guy, who writes, if My Little Pony is a hit, will we get other 80s cartoon movies?
Can I take this?
I'm just going to say we're going to get 80 cartoon movies regardless. So whether it's a hit or not, I don't think is going to have any bearing on that.
Well, I think you're comparing apples to oranges because My Little Pony had 7 seasons to build up this kind of fan base. You know, He-Man hasn't come back or Thundercats have not come back in the way that has grabbed the public imagination. So I don't think we'd get that necessarily. There's been talks for, 2 decades now of bringing these properties to a feature film. So it would be shocking because there's not really the fan base as strongly as they've developed with My Little Pony.
Yeah, I can't imagine My Little Pony, of all things, being the thing to trigger more of these types of adaptations. Also because, maybe it's because of the way my brain has compartmentalized all this kind of stuff, but I don't really... it is. It's in the wide release running at the box office. So it's like when we do box office predictions, like I'm going to factor in how My Little Pony's going to do. But... at the same time, I don't see My Little Pony being like, holy crap, a box office hit. It might do well for its standards, I don't know. But maybe I'm not giving it enough credit.
Ken,
hear me out. A gritty take on Rainbow Bright. Turns out Murky is her father. And we got a whole father-daughter relationship picture. It is going to be great. Go picture.
I'm still waiting for a Voltron movie, a Thundercats movie, something like that. But I don't think My Little Pony is the one that's going to spark that, no matter what the box office is on it. All right, what's next?
All right, this one comes from It's Just a Spark, who writes, when a movie is popular, why do some people call the movie overrated?
I think it's usually maybe because it's hyped too much for them, and so their expectations are too high. And then when they see it, everyone's a victim of that, where it's like, maybe people have been talking about movies for so long and hyping up so much, and when you finally see it and it doesn't live up to that hype, then you just call it overrated. What about you guys?
Look, in the mid-'90s, I was a rock DJ, all right? And this band called the Spice Girls came around, and I hated them. Every day on my radio show. Hold on, here's how it ends. Listen to the end. Every day I went on my radio show and I made fun. I took Spice Girls tests, which Spice Girls, back in the early days of the internet. I hated them. They were overrated. I own Spice World on DVD and VHS, and I watch it regularly. I love the Spice Girls. Sometimes we as humans have this ability to call something overrated because everyone else likes it, and sometimes it takes a hero like John Rocha to stand up and say, it's okay if you like Transformers. You're still acceptable in most societies. And I think that's where some of that comes from.
It's okay to like Spice Girls, too. They're not a band, first of all. They're just singers. But
I
have all their CDs, so I'm not going to lie. I dug the Spice Girls. They were right. But overrated is a subjective term. So some people tweeted me after I tweeted about Baby Driver that they felt it was overrated after they would see it. So it's all perspective and subjective to you. Like there's some people who love some of these superhero films, and other people who say they're overrated. They're not as big. I'm sure people are going to come out and have issues with Spider-Man. So it's just the way it goes. It's all a matter of subjective nature. What appeals to you?
I went to the Spice Girls reunion tour. I think Movie Talk is like the biggest Spice Girl fans ever, and I do own Spice World as well, and I love it. But I feel like overrated or calling movies overrated is also a bit of a fad. If everybody is freaking out about a movie, and if it doesn't meet your expectations, that's totally fine. But I do think there winds up being a little clique of people who feel the need to put it down more than maybe it even deserves by calling it overrated. And, it's kind of a natural thing no matter what we're talking about, whether it's the quality of the movie or anything in this industry. There is always a backlash to something that is so exceedingly great. We had the same thing last year with La La Land. I thought that was an exceptional movie. It's okay if you didn't like it. But because I think the hype was so high, that just opens the door to backlash. And that's what overrated is.
All right, let's do one more question.
I want to know, Ken, which Spice Girl did you get?
I am a big Sporty Spice fan.
All right. All right, this question comes from J.L. Phillips II, who writes, if you could be a sidekick to any hero or villain in a movie, whose sidekick would you be?
You're Scary Spice, by the way, Rocha.
No.
You're definitely Scary Spice.
I was a Ginger Spice. Ginger's my girl, man. And she left at the right time. That's when you leave at the top. She did. You leave at the top, son. Jesus. I don't know. You guys answer. I don't know this sidekick.
What superhero? What sidekick?
Or villain?
Yeah, a superhero or villain.
Oh, I'd be a Superman sidekick, so I wouldn't have to do anything. He can do all the work. You know what I mean? Like
Dennis.
He's got
Dennis, where have you been?
Yeah.
I was just getting Starbucks for us.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly,
okay.
exactly. He can, go into danger. He can do all the stuff. I'll do his like PR or something like that. Perfectly fine.
Tough question. If I'm thinking about who's going to be a good, fair boss, I would say Captain America.
Sure.
But then, if I was thinking about how much fun I could have,
But then his best friend fell off a train and got his arm cut off, so maybe not the best situation for you, and then became a killer.
maybe, can I have Groot? I mean, Groot's
Sure.
more like Rocket's sidekick, but can Groot just be my sidekick? Can we make that a thing? Because I'd be pretty happy living in that scenario.
You're kind of a superhero.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
Take that. I'm gonna go with Batman. During that phase where he was like depressed and 7 years didn't do anything, so I'm just sitting around the house. We're having like chicken tenders, talking about the old days. You got to go to a charity thing this weekend, and I got really nothing to do. Arthur is still cleaning everything up. That's where I'm going. Lazy Batman.
Ken, where are the sandwiches? No, I would be, because I loved Azzarello's Joker. I would love to be the Joker's sidekick just to have a story to tell. Because if you read that graphic novel, it's fantastic. So it's such a great story by the end. And so that would be worth it for the experience if I survive. If I survive.
Wendy and Sinead, who would you guys be sidekicks to?
I would be Captain America's sidekick just so I could look at him all day.
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to keep that in my pocket. I think I would go with Iron Man because I think, one, he would want somebody cool on his team. So, give myself a little street cred. 2, he's a millionaire, so he set me up real nice. I get my own little
But
mention.
He would talk so much.
He would talk. Well, yeah, just tune him out. It's fine.
You'd be so annoying.
So annoying.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of a Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank everyone joining at the table today. Perri, where can people find you?
Twitter and Instagram at P. Nemiroff. And don't forget, we have behind the scenes and bloopers tomorrow, 2 p.m. PST. Cody and Cobster versus me and Makuga in beer pong. And then also I did mailbag this weekend with Mark Riley, so look out for that on Saturday and Sunday.
Rocha.
Well, you guys can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. The Cinephiles, a new episode dropped this morning. Cine-Files on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. We covered Jackie Chan's Police Story, which was an awesome thing. I had never seen it, and I saw it for the podcast to be able to talk about it with Steve. That's great. The Outlaw Nation podcast dropped yesterday. Interviews with William Bibiani, the Beast, and Rachel the Crusher Cushing. And also now Monday, we will be doing Talking Thrones. Ken leading the charge here with me, Dennis, and Rachel Cushing as well. So all great stuff.
It's called Thrones Talk.
I'm sorry,
Rocha.
Thrones Talk.
Thrones Talk.
Sorry. It's a new thing, new season, Thrones Talk.
That's right.
Ken?
Thrones Talk is Monday. We're in Game of Thrones season. You can follow me at Ken Napzok for all my wonderful adventures there. And just tweet at me and tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Wendy?
You can find me on YouTube at The Movie Couple Channel and at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
And where can people find you, Sinead?
I'm online at Sinead DeVries and at thatsosinead.com. We don't have a live TV Talk episode on Monday, but we actually are pre-taping today, so there will be a new episode up for Monday. Also, if you're watching the U.S., have a fun 4th of July weekend, and be safe out there, children.
Yeah, so Monday, Tuesday, no movie talk. However, there will be videos coming out. TV Talk, our Game of Thrones video on Monday, and then we have a Schmodown on Tuesday. So there's going to be some videos for you guys to watch. You guys can follow me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Thanks to Cody and Jonathan in the back over there, and we will see you guys next week.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.